life transition consultant. Make it sound good. If you dig latrines, you're not a digger. You're a soil relocation agent. Make it sound good. You're not a side chick. You're a second priority partner. Make it sound good. And I'm honored to be here in the presence of now royalty. Because usually when we hear about royalty, we just hear the title king, prince, so and so, what. But this one is a king, imperial chief, engineer, doctor. The number of titles alone garners respect by default. I am honored to be in your presence, sir. I am privileged. Thank you. That fine whiskey is full of blessings. But it's a beautiful thing to be here in the presence of people. Because you know, when you hear lawyers, doctors, it's by default. Respect comes naturally. Me, I'm one of those people. I always introduce myself using my parents' names. Nyawiro Mara Daniel, Walter Rosemary Alira, and Dr. Mr. Jasper Ikuyuri. And my parents are the funniest people in my family. I'm not the funniest, I'm not the most talented, it's my parents. Because I learned comedy from my mom. My mom taught me how to be funny and how to threaten people. And I realized, do you know as long you have an advantage for anyone who doesn't understand the language? You can threaten anyone. All you have to do is speak your language and put the scary English word at the end of the sentence. Like if someone annoys you, just look at them and tell them, and you will die. You understood the English part. Balam is somewhere here. I'm sure he got the Mzungu. Put the English at the end. Obapiate working in intensive care unit. Like that's all you need for someone to fear you. My mom is one of the most loved and respected people in my life because she is as aggressive as she is loving. She has a slap, which I call the slap of God. Have you ever been slapped into realization? When I was a kid, I was a wiseacre. I used to make noise. My mom is like, Dan, can you go to the shop and buy bread? I'm like, Mommy, I don't want. One time she slapped me so hard, I noticed the neighbor's house had been repainted. I started noticing things I hadn't seen before. It's like, Dan, can you go and buy bread? I'm like, Mommy, I don't want. Oh my God, the Mawanda's house is now yellow. Hey, when did they change color? They've repainted. It is beautiful. I've grown up in an environment with two parents who are the most hilarious people I've met. My dad is a teacher by profession, just like me. And he was one of the people, back in the day, when the British were still in charge, he was assigned with educating the people of Lera district about building latrines. And the British said, by law, you're supposed to build a latrine. By law, you're supposed to build a latrine. My father misinterpreted the message, so now toilets in northern Uganda are called by law. It was completely misinterpreted. It's supposed to be by law, but now it's by law. And when they called the meeting, everybody gathered. And the British man started talking and says, when you're digging a latrine, you dig 10 feet deep, 4 feet wide. Put a concrete slab on top, put a hole in the middle, build a wall, put a roof, put a door and a padlock. And my dad asks in loud, very curious teenager, he asks, like translation, you want me to put a padlock on the door of a latrine? Who is coming to steal content? Like when have you ever woken up in the morning and gone to the latrine and oh my goodness, they've stolen everything, it is empty. No one has ever robbed a latrine. So he didn't understand the concept of having a padlock. But you have to understand, it's very interesting being a northerner growing up in Kampala because there's so many things that for us, coming from the north, we take for granted, right? Like, we speak English very well. We are very eloquent in our communication. But some of the things you need to understand about Kampala, for example, is how you know that you're living in a broke neighborhood. Because there's a difference between being broke and being in a broke neighborhood. One of the ways you can tell if you're living in a broke neighborhood in Kampala or anywhere is if your road disappears every time it rains. Like you wake up in the morning, you step out of your gate and you're like, I swear the road was here last night. I don't know what happened to it. Like, you have to understand. I've been in neighborhoods like that. You know, there are those moments. The other way you can tell is if your neighbors only argue about food. Where is the meat? I left a thigh in the saucepan. Who ate it? Like you hear those things. But the best way you can identify that you're in a broke neighborhood is if you hear this sound. Vitano, you know you're in a broke neighborhood. Because you never find those guys in Kololo, Muyenga, no. So it's in random places. That's how you know you're living in a broke neighborhood. I'm not saying you're broke. I'm saying your neighborhood has broke vibes. You understand? Then the other way you know you're in a broke neighborhood is if the nearest church in your neighborhood is built in a swamp and it's made of only iron sheets. I mean only iron sheets. The walls, the roof, the ceiling, everything is just iron sheets. And they have one key for every song. Ting, 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 ting.
DJ. See broke neighborhood.
You've seen those churches where you know you're in a broke neighborhood when the church is entirely made of iron sheets and they have two keys for every song. Ting 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 yes, we need one. Every song, the same key. But you know what the funniest part about living in a broke neighborhood is? The pastor and the person selling on the road sound like they're having a conversation. So you have someone passing by on a Sunday afternoon. You can hear everything the pastor is saying in the church because it's made of iron sheets. The pastor is preaching and he's like, and then Jesus said. Then the guy on the road is like, Lumonde. Pastor continues, your sins will cost you. Vitano. Anyway, I'm not going to lie. As far as I'm concerned, now I'm among the most creative and funny people I have ever met. We are the funniest tribe in the country, and I'm not even playing about this. Now people are just hilarious. As in Monata, as they are minding my own business, I came from Monata, I passed by Lira. We were at Ngera Hill, I'm chilling. You know, it's a good evening, very dark, there's no power. And I realized something. When you're in Lira and there's no electricity, people in Lira can identify each other, but people from Kampala can't identify people from Lira. When the power goes off. Like there's no light, someone passes you on a bicycle, you hear cling cling, you're like, no, wait. Then the guy passes by, Amoreba, you even reply Amoreba, before you even know, you're like, who was that though? And then someone's like, that was our team, and you're like, how did you know? It's a different kind of gift. I'm so proud to be Lango. I have promised myself that the next car I buy is going to have an alarm in my language. Yes. The car alarm has to be in Lango. Because every car alarm you hear, someone touches your car, wheel. No. Mine is going to scream in Lango and it's going to give me updates about what the criminal is doing. You touch my car, the car starts saying, Marami kwa yo chapa la ko, baby jori tera, yo kwa yo pira chala, Marami kwa ya, sai mira ya ko, baby jori, Marami, baby jori tera. That is the Lango pride. Before I go, I want to share a story with you guys. And this is an interactive story. So, I have a friend called Ogwere. What is his name? Ogwere. Everyone has a relative called Ogwere who usually shows up when there's food around lunchtime. You are laughing because you know. Yeah. Just like every Lao has a relative called Okero, who's usually an askari. So, Ogwere. Ogwere was working as a house help for this German guy called Damien. What is the name of the German guy? Damien. So, Damien asked Ogwere, Ogwere, you have worked with me for 10 years. What can I give you as a present for 10 years of work? Ogwere proudly says, Ami to Gali. He wants a what?
Okay.
A bicycle. Hero. Gali Mabaya, but one mera. And Damian is shocked. He's like, all you want is a bicycle. He's like, yes. Damian tells him, okay. When you go to the border to pick your bicycle, to pick my Mercedes-Benz, Damian is going to pick a what? Mercedes-Benz. We will get Ogwere's bicycle. So they go to the border. Busia. They arrive at the border. Damian gets his Mercedes. Ogwere picks his bicycle and tries to put the bicycle in the boot of the what? The Mercedes. Now, if you drive a Mercedes, you know you don't put a bicycle in the boot of a Mercedes. So Damian, not even on top. What kind of Mercedes are you driving? So he says, what we are going to do, Ogwere, jokingly, Damian tells Ogwere, jokingly, I am going to get a chain, tie it to the back of my Mercedes, and tie it to the front of your bicycle. Ogwere says, yes. Damian was joking, but he tells Ogwere, if I'm going too fast, just ring the bell. I will tie the chain and I pull you all the way back to Kampala. If I'm going too fast, do what? Ring the bell. Ring, you're in. You get? Just ring the bell. It starts driving. 40 kilometers per hour. 50 kilometers per hour. 60. Ogwere does what? He rings the bell. Cling, 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 cling. Damian's like, sorry, Ogwere, sorry. But he wants Ogwere to give up so they can sit in the car and go together. So he continues. 80 kilometers per hour. 90. 100 kilometers per hour. Ogwere rings the bell again. Cling, cling, cling. The guy's like, sorry, Ogwere. But Ogwere is not giving up. Ogwere is sitting on his bicycle because he wants to prove he's a hard guy. He wants to prove he's a hard guy who can go on his bicycle from Busia to Kampala. Now they are approaching Mabira. And the BMW passes the Mercedes. Now, for those of you who drive cars, you know the beef between BMW and Mercedes. They don't work well together. It's competitive. And the problem with BMW, it passes you and the sound comes after. So it's like, it's nonsense. That's gone. So when Damian is like, oh no, there's no way this guy is going to pass me. So he rolls up the window and starts chasing the BMW. The man is going like 120 kilometers per hour, forgetting who is at the back. Ogwere. So Ogwere is at the back of the bicycle doing 100 plus kilometers per hour in Mabira. So there's a police officer. Obviously you know that now, because that is our specialty. I tell you guys, security, we are very good at it. Hey, go to any Oscari and ask him how is Okelo. We all have a relative with that name. So the guy stands there with his speed gun. BMW passes. He checks 120 kilometers. He turns to go and report. He sees the Mercedes 125. And he's turning to go and report. He sees a bicycle. Cling, 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 cling. 130 kilometers per hour. The bicycle is faster than 2 cars. The guy calls his Afande. He's like, Afande, we have a situation. I was passed by a BMW doing 120 kilometers, which is illegal, but it's a sports car, so it's kind of acceptable, right? The Afande is like, what are you trying to say? He's like, no, Afande, wait, you don't understand. Behind him, there was a Mercedes doing 125, which is also illegal. It's past the speed limit, but it's a Mercedes, it's a sports car. Afande is like, what are you trying to tell me? He's like, Afande, behind them, they were being chased by a bicycle, doing 130 kilometers per hour, and he was ringing the bell telling them all to give way so he can pass. Afande, what am I supposed to do? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. It's been amazing.